Well, I guess instead of just sitting here looking stupid, I should just start saying something, right? I'm not sure how many people watched the uh, Bree Kuhn, Chief Petty Officer in the Navy's trial. I think because I'm so wrapped up in Karen Reed, and then we had that crazy Sarah Boone stuff. Um, it just completely slipped my mind. You know, I mean, I remembered the case. I mean, I remembered hearing about it, but it wasn't a major deal. So, you didn't hear a lot about it. Sarah Boone, you heard about because she's out there like Pluto. Um, I've seen narcissists before, but she takes the cake. She's she's bound and determined that people are gonna believe her no matter what. And she's not gonna give up, you know. But anyway, Sarah Boone in Florida, right? Yeah. Well, guess where Bree Kuhn was? Florida. Yeah. Yeah, sure was. And Bree Kuhn, her husband was honorably discharged from it was a medical issue. So he had a medical discharge, 100% disability, and I can't remember if it was an E7 or an E8, and had over 14 years. Now, you can go online and look that up yourself. What our military members make is public information. So he was either an E7 or an E8. Seems to me he was a gunny, so gunnery sergeant in the Marine Corps. Had, I believe, about 14 years active duty, and received a traumatic brain injury while on active duty, and was medically discharged with 100% disability. I don't know, 5 grand a month. Plus, he can get some VA stuff. I mean, roughly, but she was the major breadwinner because she was active duty, and she had some issues. She really did. But to watch what happened that day is it's really unbelievable. So I'm gonna get the body cam of one of the officers and play it because pretty much tells you her attitude and what's going on. And then you'll also see her husband because he's been locked outside. She's locked him in the garage, or she's locked him outside. I think, and this, believe it or not, folks, started over fighting over TV. If she could watch TV in the bedroom while ever, no, she wanted to watch TV, and her husband didn't want to. He wanted to go to bed, and she got angry. She tried to go into the bedroom to watch the TV. Well, he had his 2 little ones in there, so he said, "No, no, we're in here, we're sleeping." So, about 1:30 in the morning, I think it was, or 2 a.m., he cut the Wi-Fi off to her TV. So, she got mad. So she took his MacBook and put it in a damn dishwasher, ran it through the dishwasher, and stayed angry the next day too. Hi, Mother of Vincent LePew. How are you? I don't guess anybody likes to come see me anymore. I'm hardly ever on. But that's okay. I'm gonna be here. Did you watch the I put the opening comments of this case that I was talking about on earlier, and I was just fixing to pull up the body cam video. Um, I'm doing better, thank you. I was going to pull up the body cam video because it shows you can see more. And what I found interesting in this is she, prior to the trial, was saying that she was either going to claim self-defense or battered spouse syndrome. And then during the trial, they said something about PTSD. And who does that remind you of? Sarah Boone. I find it kind of, if you want to find humor in it, we got Bree, Kuhn, and Sarah Boone, and they're killing their partners, and they're trying to both claim self-defense or battered spouse syndrome. Both were found guilty of murder, and I feel in both cases rightfully so. But I also feel that these women that are committing these murders need to stop trying to claim self-defense or battered spouse syndrome, because what you're doing is you're making it really, really difficult for those poor women who literally live it. And one day they have no choice. They yes, it makes it excruciating. I mean, it's almost virtually impossible. The fight is so uphill. And we have Sarah Boone screaming she wants to she I'm gonna do some more on Sarah Boone pretty soon, but she wants a what is it, a retrial? Of course she does. Oh, but then, Yahoo over there in Bree, she wants a retrial too. And y'all wait, I'm gonna show Bree had one witness. Let me just say this. I should probably play the video when she called 911 and they came. But more than that, let me just say this, okay? The evidence was clear, concise, true. You couldn't have argued with it if you tried. And it was gathered by the CSI. The sheriff's department handled it just absolutely brilliantly, and it was just slam dunk, on top of the fact she stood there and said she belonged in prison. She killed her husband. Now, we can say, oh, she was in shock. Yeah, who wouldn't be? I mean, I seriously, who wouldn't be in shock if that happened? If Even if you thought you wanted it to happen. Do you know what I mean? Like you really, really thought that you wanted that person dead and you wanted it bad enough that you would do that, you're still gonna suffer some shock. I mean, what you just did, once you faced what you just did, once you saw what you just did, yeah, you're gonna have some shock. But we get to court and everybody is done, right? And all the defense had, I mean, all the prosecution had were the LEs and the medical examiner. CSI falls under LE, and trying to think if there was anything else. But Bree's claim was that Colin was coming for her. She saw the look. In other words, she insinuated Colin was coming at her, and that look he gave her, she knew she was dead. I don't know how you can say that you'd know for sure if you were alive, because how do you know it unless you watched him kill somebody else? I don't know. But she just lied, and she shot the man 4 times in his back. 4 times. He was on the phone with 911 when she shot him. Can you imagine the 911 operator? Oh my gosh. People don't talk about it much. They don't think about it much, I guess, but they're the ones that they get to see that horrific situation, whatever it may be, and then they have to get up every day and go and not know if they're going to see somebody lose their life. And that's just the way they have to live. And I can't imagine that poor person that was taking that 911 call. Said, "What was that?" And I believe she called his name, and he said, "She just shot me." That was only one, I think. And then it was bam, bam, bam again. So there was a little pause between the first shot and the other 3, if I'm remembering it correctly. So, as Sarah Boone had to do, if she wanted to claim battered spouse syndrome, she had to get up there and she had to testify before any of the experts could. And I don't know what happened when the judge was doing. Was it a voir dire or a colloquy? I'm not sure what it's called, but where he's going over it with her about was she going to testify? And because when they asked the defense who the next witness was going to be after her dumbass brother, and now we'll get to him in a minute, and I'll show you that. But it was supposed to be Bree. And so, as the judge is going through everything, then he gets to where he said, uh, "You do understand that if you choose not to testify, I give a instruction to the jury that it cannot be held against you." And when he got to that one, it appears that she started talking to the attorneys, and they asked for a moment, and then I don't know exactly what happened, but they ended up, I believe, taking a break. Now, it was supposed to be 20 minutes that the jury was out for a break. The jury was out for, I think, like an hour and 45 minutes. So they're hanging out in the jury room, right, for an hour and 45 minutes or so. They get called back into the courtroom to be told, "Well, thank you for today. Sorry, we had," and then they got sent back out. So um, they heard from Bree's lovely brother. So then they were asking about, um, oh, they got into kind of a difference of opinion because there some places well they disagreed. They disagreed that Bree had to testify before the experts could, and that the experts should be able to testify even if Bree didn't. And it just anyway, he ruled the way Sarah Boone's judge did. Yeah, if she's going to claim this, then this is how the process it has to be. So in the end, the only person that got up on the stand for the defendant was her brother. Just a second, I'll be right back. Yeah, I think it was horrific for the handler, mother of Vincent LePew. I mean, people don't think. I'm sure they have nightmares. Bless their hearts. Bless their hearts. Anyway, what I want to do is, y'all remember what I said, and I'm going to play the brothers, um, what do you call it? His testimony. I'm going to play the brother's testimony. Give me just a second. I've got a million things open here right now. Trying to get all of Sarah Boone's documents because I want to read about that. So the brother, though, he's got some issues. I mean, he's got some real issues. I think he was on day 2, day 3. One, oh my God, that was loud in my ear. What am I looking at? Okay, it's not this one. Y'all bear with me. I thought I had it because I've worked on this so many different days. So this one is day 3. Oh no, this one is the closing. Y'all just chat for a minute. I've got whoops. I've got it on my I may just have to play it off mine on my playlist. This makes me so mad. Let's see. Day 1, day 2. It had to be day 3. Oh, I know what it is. It's gotta be nope, it's not day 3. It has to be 3. Yeah, I feel like the biggest idiot in the world sitting here. Oh, this is rebuttal. Lord of mercy. So it is day 2. My apologies. Day 2. Yep. I apologize. Sitting here like some dumb idiot. Okay. Let me just say, all right. Let me get y'all back. My apologies. No, I have not. I have not been following it. Let's see. Okay, so what's happening here is this judge, they just came back, I believe, from a break, if I'm not mistaken. Hold on, let me get that out the way. They just came back from a break, and the attorneys approached, asked to approach, and they did. So watch what happens next. This is just they're too this is too funny. I mean, one would think it can't be real. I think this is the spot. Let me see.
We swear, man.
Oh Lord. Oh no, no. Here. Oh shit.
I've been right outside in the chair, sir.
Okay, hold up. Okay, it's gonna be just a second. But this is I have to say it's rather entertaining because if you think of everything that I said before watching this, Colin was on the phone with 911 as he was being killed. Colin been locked out of the house most of the day. So, oh, sorry. Yeah, see, just when I was fixing to just say, okay, let me find it. But y'all watch. Here's the good stuff. What am I, 25 minutes in? I get to the good stuff. Almost 25 minutes in. Oh, I've heard of it. I've heard of it, but I haven't followed it. Hi, Margaret the Younger. How are you? Oh, this case, I tell you what, it was only on a couple of channels. It was 3 or 4 days. And I mean, it was really a hard watch for me because it was boring. It was, you saw the same facts over and over because each officer would come in and talk and
Yeah,
it
he'll
would
come
be
over
their
to the witness
stuff.
stand.
Okay, no jury is in this room right now, okay? There is no jury in there, just the attorneys, judge, and whoever's in the
All right, so raise
courtroom.
your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell me the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
All right, have a seat in the chair.
Oh, let me
All
fast
right,
it up.
the defense wanted to inquire of this witness about something that occurred in the hallway. Is that correct?
Randy Evans, Your Honor, up here on behalf of Bree Kuhn. Has he been sworn in, Your Honor?
Yes, that's where I'm in.
Would you state your full name for the record, please, sir?
Eric Kuhn.
And Mr. Kuhn, were you called here today to testify via trial subpoena that was issued by our offices?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And where were you at earlier today before you were called in to testify?
I've been right outside in the chair, sir.
Okay. You were aware there was rule of sequestration that you're not to speak to anybody else about your proposed testimony, correct?
Yes, sir.
Tell the court what you saw, what you observed while you were out there waiting for your turn to testify.
Two of the detectives that I had met previously were out there just talking, and then another police officer in a full uniform came out and he started talking about the trial and that the defense was nonsense and that he had been a soldier and PTSD is serving overseas, not here, and things like that.
Were you in earshot? Could you hear and understand most or any of what they were saying?
He was right next to me.
Okay. Were they talking directly about their testimony or the testimony that was to be presented here in court today?
I would presume so. I didn't hear their testimony, but that he came out and was discussing being in here and that the defense was nonsense.
Okay. Was one of the persons that you heard talk?
Okay, I'm sorry. Since we didn't watch the trial, this is the end of day 2. It's the defense rested, and now, I mean, Lord of mercy, prosecution rested, and defense has just picked it up. So he's not even on as a defense witness right now. He was just sitting out in the hall. Nobody testified on day 2 that was in a uniform. Nobody. The medical examiner, he just wait till he gets there. Anyway, so and not only that, folks, not only that, but I don't know if y'all can see
Was
this.
that Detective Roll?
See
The fellow that
this?
came up to Pennsylvania to speak to you?
He was being talked to by the officer in uniform. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor.
That smudge on his glasses is going to drive me absolutely bonkers.
Mr. Alderman?
So, Mr. Kuhn, this uniformed officer, was he discussing things that had happened inside the courtroom?
Yes, he said that. I guess things he heard, he said they were nonsense.
Okay, you just heard him say they were nonsense? The defense is nonsense?
Yes.
Is that it?
He was discussing time served in the military that he had, I believed, and he said something about seeing a skull cracked open from enemy fire is PTSD, that what the plaintiff suffered wasn't.
Okay, so this uniformed officer was giving his opinion about the case. Is that correct?
Okay, mind you, oh God, what was I fixing to say? Too much. I lost y'all too. There it is. Okay, listen. Sorry, I couldn't figure out where my screen was. Nobody testified that was wearing a uniform. And what else was it that he just did? Y'all, I'm sorry. I chased 3 grandkids today, and now I'm tired and I've tried to do this. What in the world? Oh, well, let's just go.
In terms of,
Yes.
and he thought the defense was nonsense.
Yes.
Thank you.
That was what I was going to say is he seemed surprised when the prosecution asked him, okay, oh, so they said they thought it was nonsense? Like looking at them like they should give a shit, right? I mean, a shoot. But the other thing that it was a word. Gosh, second time. I guess they say three's a charm. It's one sentence or statement.
Any other questions?
Just one follow-up, just to make the record clear, Mr. Randy, I think, Your Honor, here on behalf of Bree Kuhn. Has he been sworn in, Your Honor?
Yes, that's where I'm in.
Would you state your full name for the record, please, sir?
Eric Kuhn.
And Mr. Kuhn, were you called here today to testify via trial subpoena that was issued by our offices?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And where were you at earlier today before you were called in to testify?
I've been right outside on the chair, sir.
Okay. You were aware of the rule of sequestration that you're not to speak to anybody else about your proposed testimony, correct?
Yes, sir.
Tell the court what you saw, what you observed while you were out there waiting for your turn to testify.
Two of the detectives that I had met previously were out there just talking, and then another police officer in a full uniform came out and he started talking about the trial and that the defense was nonsense and that he had been a soldier and PTSD is serving overseas, not here, and things like that.
They talk, were you in earshot? Could you hear and understand most or any of what they were saying?
He was right next to me.
Okay. Were they talking directly about their testimony or the testimony that was to be presented here in court today?
I would presume so. I didn't hear their testimony, but he came out and was discussing being in here and that the defense was nonsense.
Okay. Was one of the persons that you heard talking, was that Detective Roll, the fellow that came up to Pennsylvania to speak to you?
He was being talked to by the officer in uniform. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Alderman?
So, Mr. Kuhn, this uniformed officer, was he discussing things that had happened inside the courtroom?
Yes, he said that. I guess things he heard, he said they were nonsense.
Okay, you just heard him say that was nonsense? The defense is nonsense?
Yes.
Is that it?
He was discussing time served in the military that he had, I believed, and he said something about
The story starts growing right there, see? Because when the prosecutor said, "Oh, that's it," they just said it was nonsense, and now it starts expanding. And the other thing that I was going to say, for Pete's sake, he didn't call his sister the defendant. He called her the plaintiff. And I kept going, oh my gosh, he could have said, the murderer sitting right there to whatever. But yeah, can you get over this dude? That smudge on his glasses, y'all. Oh, I can't. I just can't.
seeing a skull cracked open from enemy fire is PTSD that what the plaintiff suffered wasn't.
Okay, so this uniformed officer was giving his opinion about the case. Is that correct? In terms of,
Yes,
and he thought the defense was nonsense.
yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Just one follow-up, just to make the record clear, Mr. Kuhn, uniform officer, the other detectives, were they talking about things that they were going to testify to about today?
The uniform officer discussed what he was in here testifying to. Yes.
Thank you.
Wait. That's not what you said.
Y'all,
initially.
y'all, that is the judge. Excuse me, young man, that is not what you said initially. Whoa, you really should be careful there, Charlie Brown. I mean, the child that got his hand caught in a cookie jar. Look at that face. Mm-hmm.
Okay, make
So
sure,
that-
make sure
what
we're
you said-
clear for the
Yeah,
court.
That's
Okay,
not
this,
what my
this is-
understanding was. This uniformed officer went to Detective Rowell, who was not uniformed. He's in a suit. And it was this uniformed officer that was talking to him, correct?
He was talking to two of the detectives, and it seemed, I believe the young lady was a medical examiner. They were all out there. She had a black purse, gray pearls.
Okay. Oh,
I was
Woohoo! We just described the Emmy medical examiner, the young lady, sweetheart, sugar plum. She was not in the least bit interested in them whippersnappers that were on before her. They were not standing out in the hallway having a conversation of any kind. The most hysterical part is that the prosecution doesn't call him an all-out liar. He just is very, very, very cordial about how he handles it. But tell me I'm not the only one that within moments of this guy opening his trap, I knew he was full of BS. Right? I'm not, y'all see it just as plain as day as well, correct?
sitting right out there.
the most important question, Mr. Kuhn, is whether they were talking about what they were going to testify about today.
My understanding from their conversation was he had already testified, and then he came out speaking.
So there was nothing said about proposed testimony. They're talking about this, the defense attorney is going to ask this, or you need to watch out for this, anything like that at all.
No, sir.
And they didn't discuss, well, you need to say this, you need to say that. Was there
No, sir.
anything like that? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Kuhn.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Alderman, any other questions?
No, sir.
All right, sir, you may step down and go back outside. And when it's your turn to testify in the front of the jury, we will come and get you, okay?
Yes, sir.
He will be next, Judge.
Okay.
I know you like to come in next.
Now, did y'all catch that? He's going to be the next witness. He's the next witness. This is Bree
Okay.
Kuhn's
Well,
brother.
At this time, I don't believe the rule of sequestration has been violated. First, I don't know who this uniformed officer is. It's evident he was talking, he said the detectives, both, I know Detective Rowell was in plain clothes. I believe Detective Kelly was too.
Yes, sir. I believe I saw him out there this morning. He was in plain
He was in plain clothes. This witness did not describe anything that the investigator said. There was no comments about what they said. They didn't say anything. His testimony was that this other uniformed person talked to them about the defense being nonsense and then about military service. So
We don't even know what the defense is going to say, okay? Right, but Mother Vincent LePew, he was lying. He was lying. But what he wanted to do is throw shade on the officers. Now that's just a little bit setting you up for what's coming next. I mean, this little whippersnapper, but he's not slick. You know, he thinks he's slick as a fox or sly as a fox, slick as I don't know. Right. Well, see the officers it's their fault that Bree killed her husband. And you know, she was being abused and all this other nonsense. So, her brother is coming to testify on her behalf, which half of what he says, I don't know how they got in because to me it would be hearsay. But I'll point it out and y'all tell me if I'm wrong. But I mean, they're so polite in dealing with the fact that this boy just got up there and lied his ass off to the judge in the court. I mean, but remember, the jury wasn't in there. But you know that the judge knows, and you know that the prosecution knows. You know the defense had to know that this dude was so full of crap, it was unreal. I mean, but he handles it so eloquently. Even they know it didn't happen.
this witness's testimony does not indicate that the detectives were talking about what happened in the courtroom. We're not sharing what they had testified to. And I guess, Mr. Alderman, was there any uniform officers that you had here today?
And that was going to be one of the records reflect, Judge, that he seemed a little unclear, or maybe I wasn't clear, but no uniformed officers testified today. I mean, there may be uniformed officers out there, obviously the present here in the courthouse, but there was no witness in uniform that left the courtroom and would have discussed their testimony. Obviously, the only witnesses were Detective Rowell and the medical examiner.
May I inquire now whether Jameson Lynn or Stephen Quick, who are scheduled as potential rebuttal witnesses, were here today?
I have not seen them, and I told them to be on standby for tomorrow.
Very good.
So all the uniformed officers that we've heard from would not have been here today, but we're on standby for tomorrow. Is
Yes,
that
sir.
correct?
Yes.
All right, so I don't know who this uniformed officer is. I don't even know if they were even a witness in the case.
My take from what he was saying was that it sounded like a deputy not involved in the case was giving his opinion as to the validity of the defense. Now I'm happy to remind the witnesses of the rule of sequestration in abundance of caution. I'm happy to do that.
Sure. But let me just say for the record, there's no evidence that Detective Rowell or Detective Kelly violated that rule.
No, sir. I'll just tell them, sometimes people mishear things or hear what they want to hear. So I'll
Okay.
have a word with them.
If, why don't, if you'll step out and just, and maybe, I don't know, Mr. Barnes,
Yeah.
if you want to step out and remind your witnesses as well, just to make doubly sure.
Sorry, I didn't mean to get my back while you were talking.
No, I understand, Mr. Barnes.
So how many of y'all knew that? I mean, I pegged him as a liar within, I don't know, blink of an eye. And you know what's funny is I watch some of these people that do card readings, and I'm like, you have a 50-50 shot of being right with what they say. But I don't read cards. I haven't been to school for any body language. I don't know handwriting analysis. I don't know speech analysis like that one. Oh God, he's awesome. But I'm, I'm, I think I'm pretty well versed in. I just have this thing inside me that says bullshit, and I'm done after that. But hold up, let's see. So nothing worked. Yeah. Oh, and y'all, the judge don't stand up.
Judge, Dr. McDonald just arrived, and I was discussing how sort of scheduling that. I don't know if it'll get to her this afternoon or if it'll be in the morning. But I did mention to her about the conversation we had about the defendant testifying and experts remaining in the courtroom. So if that takes place, then I will probably have Dr. McDonald to sit in the courtroom so she can listen to.
Okay. Any objection to that, Mr. Etheridge?
No.
I don't think that Bree liked the fact that the expert could oh, is that what it is? Um, sit in while she testified. You know what's really sad, Margaret, is I called my mother out for being a BSer when I was just a kid. There's just some kind of, I don't know.
The jury comes in first.
I just want
The defense goes that they said that they call Eric Kuhn is what they were laughing about because the jury's not in. But you'd never know if they're in or not because the judge never stands up. Besides those glasses. Oh my gosh. I'm like, come on, little dude. Stand up, stand up.
You swear him in.
This will be the second time he's sworn in. He got a lot of nerve getting up there lying. Hey, did anybody watch 28 Days with Sandra Bullock in it? Because if you did, there was a redhead. He was fantastic. He had it going on. This guy reminded me of him, but I mean, he's just like enough to just barely tap a match because the guy I'm thinking about was absolutely hysterical because it was about rehab, and you want to, it was 28 days sobriety, and then you get out. And you're not supposed to get in a relationship or anything until you've kept a plant alive for, I think, a year. And then you can get a puppy or cat, whatever, after that. And
Okay, everybody can be seated.
then you can find a mate.
All right, members of the jury, the
Do you
state's
know what
case
I'm
in this
talking
case.
about,
I'll turn it over to
Margaret?
the defense. Mr. Barnes, if you'll call your first witness.
Eric Kuhn, you're on.
And he still hadn't cleaned his damn glasses. Oh my God. He got some nerve talking about a black purse and gray pearls. And he won't even wash his glasses. Okay, y'all, we're doing a body watch or
Sir,
whatever you
raise
want
your
to
right hand,
call it.
please.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
All right, sir, have a seat in the chair. Pull the chair as close to the
I'll
microphone
let
as you
you know
can.
when
Speak
I
loud
say
enough into the
BS.
microphone so that everybody can hear you, okay?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Barnes, you may proceed.
Thank you. Would you say your name?
Eric Jerome Joshua Kuhn.
And thanks for being here. We've asked you to come to this trial, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you flew down, I think, last night.
Yes, sir.
You live in,
Pennsylvania.
there you go. And how do you know Bree?
She's my younger sister.
And how old are you?
I'm 38.
Just briefly, did you guys like grow up together or separate, or talk about that dynamic a little bit?
We grew up together until I was in 9th grade, and then my sister moved to live with my dad.
Was there ever a time that you two became reunited in terms of living in the same place after that?
No.
Was there a point in time you moved to Texas with your sister?
We moved to Texas. She moved from Texas to New York with my dad. We lived in Pennsylvania together.
Yes, sir.
Moved to Texas together with our mom, and then she went from Texas to New York with my dad.
Was there any, and again, briefly, was there any physical abuse at all in the family?
Yes, our mom was very abusive our entire childhood, even into adulthood.
Was she ever physically abusive to Bree?
Yes.
Okay.
Terribly.
And to yourself?
Oh, yes.
Okay, let me just pause right there for just a moment. How do I put this? Well, you know what? I have a right to say it. If you've been abused by your parent, I think the last thing that you're going to do is to have them watch or care for your child or children. Yeah, I was trying to figure out how to say it. Um, I just I just don't believe that someone who's been abused by their parents would leave their children in their care, even though they're their grandchildren. Because if that's what they did to their children, what do you think they're going to do to the grandkids? So I'm not saying the little dude's lying about that, but I'm also going to say that even knowing that, it has nothing to do with the fact that Bree got mad because Colin wanted to leave, take the children with him to have some space between him and Bree, and she didn't want him to take the kids. That's why this man died. I guess I should have said that long before. That's why he died. She tried everything to get the cops to take him, keep him out of the house, not let him near the children, whatever, but there was no reason. And, you know, I mean, I'd venture to say that somebody who's throwing a fit to watch TV loud, he said that they normally at nighttime watch it on volume 10. And that night she was wanting to watch it on volume 30. And he had the children sleeping with him because she had some stuff going on. She tried to take herself out of the equation and like just a couple of months before this, and he was no way going to leave the children alone with her. um 3-year-old little girl and a 4-year-old little boy, and then she had a 12-year-old daughter from a previous boyfriend. And the interesting thing in that is when I was reading some of her character reference letters, one of the people were saying something about her ex they were never married, but he said her first husband, and this they got divorced or they split up. But whatever the commander or whoever he was that was writing this in praise of Bree, said that how she had had to suffer at the hands of her husband and how he had ardor but not, and he was abusive and all this other stuff. Well, isn't it funny? Isn't it funny? There was no mention of that ever. And he was even on the stand. He got up on the stand for the prosecution and he testified. Now, if he would have been an abusive, what, the defense attorney could have tore him to smithereens. But they didn't. Why not? Because it wasn't true. So, this that just bothered me. Okay, that bothered me. I don't know if it would anybody else, and I know that I can't speak for all of abused children. I just know that I myself could not. I could not. My children were never left with my mother. Oh, okay. Sorry.
What role, if any, did Bree play in being the big sister with regard to your?
Well,
you-
she was the little sister, but
Right.
I would always go along to get along.
Right.
I figured if I kept my mouth shut, it wouldn't last nearly as long. My sister would even try to defend me and yell at my mom saying, "Why are you hitting him?" And then she would get hit very bad as well for trying to protect me.
Was Bree a protector of yours, for lack of a better word, in that dynamic?
Yes, she's a little sister only by age.
Yes, sir. Now, obviously, you guys grow up and people live in different places and so forth. Did you stay in touch?
Yes.
Phone calls?
Phone calls, text messages, social media, but we would even visit. Sometimes I was at her graduation from boot camp in Chicago. I went and visited her while she was in advanced individual training in San Antonio. She's lived several places with the Navy. I have visited a couple of them to see her.
When is the last time that you saw Bree, other than right now, obviously?
We had gone on a trip to the bungalows in Key Largo in Florida about 1 to 2 years before this incident occurred.
And who was on that trip?
It was me, Bree, and Colin.
Is there any reason you were, well, did they invite you?
Yes, I was given a couple of reasons. One is Colin was in school, so he was studying quite a bit. So they thought that if he was studying, I could hang out with my sister so she wasn't alone. If she wanted to rest or recoup, I could hang out with him if he wasn't studying. And then they also, both of them at separate times and together, told me that they were having marital issues and they thought a third person might help what they were working on together.
Okay. Who buys that? My opinion is I believe he went on a vacation with his sister and brother-in-law just for the heck of it, just for fun, just to enjoy themselves. Everything else I do not believe is true. So, what do y'all think?
Did you notice any physical abuse on that trip? At least, obviously, in front of you.
No, not that I saw, sir.
Okay. Did you learn anything about Colin that you didn't know on that trip?
Yes, sir.
What did you learn?
It was in my deposition, but I know he told me that the reason him and Bree got along very well is that they were both psychopaths and narcissists. He seemed
All right. He's trying to make out like, oh, Margaret, the children are with Colin's parents. They're very loved. And we can listen to them talk because they talk. I mean, the verdict doesn't take hardly any time at all. And then a few people spoke, and then the verdict was rendered. I mean, it was boom, boom, boom. So, but let me just say what he said right here. I call BS as well.
Seemed to think that was entertaining, I believe.
I
I
think
know
it was
we
a
would talk
joke.
about, I would go to the gym at that place and he would talk to me about like steroids and supplements and things like that, which I didn't.
You know,
I
I'm
didn't-
object.
I call that a lie too. He is trying his very best to put a jab into this man who is dead. Oh, Margaret, no, they didn't say anything about the children. So I'm not really sure. But 1 to 3 years ago, 1 year ago, she still would have had 2. 3 years ago, she would have had just 1. But she would have had 1 minimum. Okay, so anybody else call bullshit? I mean, my bullshit meter just keeps going off. It's like ding, 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 ding. He and what makes me so angry. Okay, I understand it's his sister and he wants to keep her from going to prison, but he has a niece and a nephew, and their father was murdered by his sister. And I would think if I had any standing, it would be behind those children. And last thing in the world I would do is get up and lie about their father. That's just the most tacky thing in the world, in my opinion, is the bullshit of trying to paint Colin as this horrible person that he was not. Even the neighbors say he's the one that was outside playing with the children. You never, ever saw her do it. So I'm sorry. Let's continue. My apologies.
For relevance.
Sustained.
Fair enough. We can move along. So you go back to, at that time, still in Pennsylvania, I guess?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And Bree goes back wherever she is, and you guys continue to have conversations.
Here and there, yes, sir.
Did Bree ever tell you anything about her marriage or about Colin that would be noteworthy? How they were getting along, any problems, anything like that?
Yes, sir. It seemed like that trip didn't help much. They were still having really bad issues, and I came to learn how far they went later on as well.
And
Okay, I call BS again. Not, but he does a lie, and then he embellishes it. It's got to like make you feel more. My opinion.
did your sister, if you could tell, was she depressed about that, upset about that? I mean, I'm sure she wasn't happy about it.
No, she was highly depressed, sir. In fact, I do know she tried to kill herself. I was with her on the phone, and I had even called Colin to tell him this is what she's doing. She's in the house, and he couldn't care less. I actually had to call the medics to tell them to go to the house for her, pump her stomach.
Let me back you up a bit, but then we can talk about that a little bit more. now, I guess, as the big brother, even though she's the de facto or de jure big sister, if you will. Did you ever give her any advice in terms of what she should do when she's telling you this stuff about the marriage and she's depressed? And did you ever tell her, like, just leave?
Yes.
And did she?
No, she was quite scared, not for herself, but for her kids.
Is that what she reported to you, or you just assumed that?
No, she told me that.
Now, again, we're not going to spend a bunch.
Oh, I agree. I agree, Mother Vincent LePew. She's a domestic abuser. I don't. I think that her husband um, handled her better than any other man had, and I can play her ex-boyfriend, her 12-year-old dad. He testified. I could play his testimony, and Colin sounded like an absolutely wonderful man. I mean, anybody can have bad days and stuff, but it when and by what he's saying about when she tried to take herself out of the equation, he's lying. Now, there is no proof that he's lying, except for the fact that Bree, in her interview with the police, you would just a second. In her interview with the police, she even said, he should have let me, you know what? And the officer said, why? And she said, because then he'd still be alive. And she said that numerous times. This little piece of shit right here is sitting here saying Colin didn't care. One of the officers that responded that day, because there were 2 or 3, right, supposedly, that was around March. But the thing is that let's say that she did call her brother to tell him she was doing that. This is the scenario that I see happening with Colin. And let's say he calls Colin, who then busts into the closet where she was hiding and yelled for Dingbat here to call 911. Because the police officer that responded to that call that day, he had been out there as well. He remembered when that incident happened and when she was put in the hospital. So for him to sit up on that stand and say that, he's a bald-faced liar. He's lying. And it makes me angry that he's lying. And the niece and nephew, Colin's children, they shouldn't be subjected to it. Oh yeah, I think he's just lying because why would Bree have said that in her interview? So dipshit here should have got his story better with her or something. I don't know. No, I don't think so. I think that he is angry that she's in trouble. And I don't think that she's threatened him. I think he's mad she's in trouble and they've tried everything to figure out how to dig her out and none of it's working. But that's just my opinion. I'm going to hush. I'm going to go off camera for just a second, but I'm right here watching. But y'all tell me what your thoughts are because I mean, it's like every time he opens his mouth, I'm like, lie, lie. Oh, that sentence was true. All right.
Time on it because you just talked about it. But you were on the phone with your sister when she was about to commit suicide or trying to commit suicide?
Yes, sir.
What did you learn on the phone about that in terms of how she was trying to do it or why or anything else about it?
There were multiple reasons as to the why. The how was she told me she had taken all of her prescription medications and a lot of alcohol together and then went into a closet. And the why was she was unhappy in the marriage. She wanted to leave, but she was petrified that she wouldn't be able to get custody of the kids. My understanding from my conversations with her was Colin had a family with access to wealth that he could have hired lawyers and things like that, where she didn't have the same access, so she didn't know what her odds were of getting the children.
Bam. Motive. That dumbass just shut right there and just gave a motive. And he really needs to listen to himself. If his sister knew that she probably wouldn't get the children, she knew the reasons why she wouldn't get the children. You ever thought about that? Right? So the thing is she, every call that she made, that's why I was going to play the whole trial, but I guess I should, I can come back tomorrow, say, and play the video so you see the phone calls that were made to 911 that caused all this, or that led up to the murder. And he's just, I'm sorry, that's a bald-faced lie. Okay, I'll be back. I'm eating a cracker.
And when this, is happening, and you're on the phone with her, she's telling you she just did this. What did you do in response to any emergent reaction?
I called Colin. He was in the home with her.
And did he know what was going on
Yes.
in terms of the Bree's suicidal attempt in real time?
Mhm.
That's a yes.
Yes.
And what did he say about it? What was he doing about it?
Absolutely nothing.
I mean, did you say, dude, you got to call EMS? I mean, my sister's did you react that way, or?
I didn't say my sister. I said your wife. I thought reminding him might help.
And did you disengage the phone call, and it was your opinion that he wasn't going to do anything?
It was my opinion he was going to let her die.
Okay. Did he flat out say, no, I'm not calling EMS?
Yes.
And you get off the phone with him. Who calls EMS? If you
Me.
Okay. Now, the day of the shooting, did Bree call you that day?
Multiple times, sir.
And what was the general nature of those calls, if you can tell us?
I would say anxiety and fear. She had had a surgery scheduled for many months. And I guess they were having she told me they were having a dispute that day that if she went to have the surgery, he was going to kidnap the children and she would never see them again. So she was asking me if I could come down, not to be with her, but to be with the kids while she had the surgery so that he couldn't take them away from her. Then she would call again and say that they were discussing it and he would watch them and wouldn't take them. And then it seemed like they'd been having an argument all day about this and he was going back and forth on what would happen.
Were the calls mixed in with, hey, how's the weather? I saw a good movie last night, or were they all in relation to what was going on between them? And
No, this was a very important issue. There was no, common conversation in between. It was her medical well-being. The surgery wasn't for appearance or anything. It was for her health and then the well-being of her children.
And at any point that day, did you intentionally talk to Colin?
No, sir.
Did your sister tell you he's not going to take? Did you find out he was going to take care of her at all when she has the surgery and her recovery? Or in other words, did he care about that at all? Did you know anything about that?
No, the end result prior to the shooting was if she had the surgery for her health, he was going to take the kids, go to his parents' house, and she would never see them again.
Yes, sir. Now, the final call, you actually, and we're going to work up towards it, but the call, you actually heard the shots, correct?
Yes, sir.
And tell the jury, what was the length of that call?
It, it was several minutes, sir. It was quite some time we were on the phone.
Was it like 45 minutes?
I would say so, sir.
And what are you hearing during that time?
In my sister's voice, utter fear. And then I heard a lot of discourse, Colin screaming, things being hit. At one point, he was on the phone with the police, I believe, trying to tell them that my sister was doing something, and she was on the phone with me.
Did you ever hear Colin make any threats or raise his voice or anything of that nature?
I did hear his voice raised a few times, yes, and I did hear at some point children crying.
And there was were you aware of a point in time when Bree got a gun? Were you aware of that?
I don't believe that. Yeah, I believe she grabbed the gun and I said, just get out of the house, get out of the house. And she said they can kill the kid. She couldn't.
And was there a point in time where you heard, like, did she say, oh, he's hurting me, or he kicked me, or?
Oh, yes, I heard slamming. She did say that. She was even telling him, why are you doing this? And then she screamed that, ow. And at another point, the phone fell to the ground and I heard a scuffle.
Did you hear your sister say, you're not taking the fucking kids?
She said, you're not taking them. And she said, you're not killing them.
Okay. And then she gets the gun, correct?
I would believe so. Yes, sir.
I'm going to object for speculation.
Restate your question.
Are you aware, like what you heard earlier, you said that you knew she went and got a gun, right?
Mm.
And then I brought you to the kicking and the struggles and so forth in the aisle and hitting the floor and all that. Was that before or after you realized she got a gun?
Before.
All those struggles were before?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So now she's got the gun and
Again, I'm going to object for speculation.
Still approach.
Yes, sir.
So, is this just not mind-boggling?
I need to do a better job of like a timeline a little bit here.
Yes, sir.
First,
Yes.
how were you aware that your sister got a gun? Did she tell you?
I believe she did. I believe she said that's how she was going to protect the kids.
And
And at that point, I was begging her to just get out of the house, but she kept saying the kids, the kids, the kids.
now again, this is a 45-minute call. We get to a point where you hear indicators of a struggle in the aisle and the throwing around and so forth. How long after that do you believe your sister got the gun? And if you know.
Immediately. She was thrown to the ground and he was grabbing the kids because I heard the kids yelling.
I'm going to object to speculation.
Sustaining the objection.
And then we end up, what happens next? What do you hear next?
The shots.
Prior to the shots going off, did you hear your sister say anything?
She kept saying that he was not going to kill the kids. And the kids were crying.
And obviously you're not there. You hear the shots. Did you say anything after that?
I was crying and yelling, oh my God. And she told me, I killed him. I have to call the cops, and hung up. I tried calling her back. There was no answer. Then I called my father.
One second here. That'd have been fun. No further questions.
China Gray School to help you there.
Mr. Alderman, cross-examination?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can this, oh, you do have cross-examination? Okay.
Good afternoon, Mr. Kuhn.
Good afternoon, sir.
So I want to touch on this trip that you and your sister took to Key Largo, was it?
With Colin.
Yes. And you're there for approximately a week. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you never, as you said, you never saw any physical abuse during that time, did you?
No, sir.
Did you suspect any physical abuse?
No, sir.
You never suspected anything other than the marital issues. You never suspected any kind of physical abuse, domestic abuse, rape, anything, did you?
No, sir.
And you thought Colin was a nice guy, didn't you?
I had some qualms after he told me that he believed himself to be a psychopath, but that was it. I thought it made.
You remember previously? Well, let's talk about that. The psychopath. He makes a comment, we're both psychopaths, and then he and Bree both laugh, don't they?
At the time they were together, he made it other times as well, alone.
Okay, and they both laughed when he said it when they were together?
Oh, when they were together, yes.
So they both laughed and agreed they're both psychopaths?
Mhm.
Is that a yes?
Yes, sir.
And that comment that's the worst thing you saw and heard during that time together? I mean, is that
Worse, no, my sister confided in me about what the issues were at home, but none of them involved the other things you mentioned.
right? They were marital issues, right? It comes to chores,
Yes, sir.
and she had told you she was stressed about that she was working and was financially responsible, correct?
Yes, sir.
Those kind of marital issues.
Yes, sir.
And up until the day Colin was murdered, you never had any reason to suspect anything untoward in terms of a physical nature, did you?
No, sir.
Now, you mentioned about talking to your sister several times that day, correct? And that there was issues about the surgery. And I believe you had said that Colin had made a comment about kidnapping the kids.
Yes, sir.
Was he going to kidnap the kids, or was he refusing to watch the kids, according to Bree?
I don't know that the phrase kidnap was used. It was that he was going to take the kids to his parents if she had the surgery.
Okay. So he wasn't refusing to watch them.
He was saying he would take them and she would never see them again.
Do you remember being interviewed by the police?
Excuse me?
Do you remember being interviewed by the police?
Yes, sir.
And on September 24th,
I wouldn't know the date, sir, but I remember they flew up to Pennsylvania.
and was that a close in time to the?
Okay. Now, y'all remember how we started, right? With him coming in front of the judge. Get ready. He didn't lie very well, but he's trying his best.
Time of the murder?
I want to say it was within a week, sir.
Okay. And you they interviewed you about what had happened. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You want my first witness?
You may.
Yeah, Judge, that's no problem. In case you didn't ask me a question, yeah, and books, you can ask me a question. It's a problem.
That's got to be Mr. Barnes.
I whispered it.
All right. Mr. Alderman?
The question was about whether Colin was watching the kids, or kidnapping the kids, or refusing to watch the kids. Was the question?
Okay. You may continue.
Mr. Kuhn, and I'm on page 5. I want you to read this to yourself. Lines 15 through 21.
I'm sorry, Mark, is that the interview or the depot?
Page 5. And just look up for me when you're done.
Yes, sir.
Does that help refresh your memory as to what Bree was telling you about the kids?
What I said was accurate. She said he was going to take them.
Yeah, I am going to check that. Refreshing memory is one thing. The way you do that is to say, well, A, the witness has to say, I don't remember. B, you say, if I showed you something, would you remember? Would it aid you to remember? Witness has to say yes. I mean, this, so, yes, objection.
Overruled. You may continue.
Does anybody get the Jen McCabe vibes? They're fixing to be coming between the police interview and the deposition on Zoom. This little dude makes up just about any story he wants, because if he left it out of one of the other reports, it's because either the Zoom was glitching or the officers didn't record his entire visit that they flew all the way to Pennsylvania to get. Right.
You, Mr. Alden.
So, Mr. Kuhn, you previously said that he was refusing to take the kids or to watch the kids, correct?
In here? Yes,
Yes, sir. That's what you told the police, correct?
yes.
That he was refusing to watch the kids.
He was also threatening to take them.
He was doing both?
All I knew is he was threatening to take them,
Okay, and refusing to watch them.
refusing. I don't understand if he takes them, how's he not? I mean, maybe his
I
parents will
don't
watch them.
understand either. That's why I'm asking.
This interview was highly inappropriate to my belief because I was not told about it. I was in the gym at 6 a.m. and a police officer told me, I'm here waiting to meet you. I was never given any call, confirmation, anything. I had no idea what was going on. He just called me and told me he landed in Avoca from Florida with no knowledge or anything. I couldn't even get in touch with my sister's attorneys. I don't know if she had attorneys at that time. I had no idea what was going on other than 2 police officers with no phone calls told me they were in my city and had to meet me. And I didn't even know if that was appropriate or what was going on. I was at a complete loss.
Okay, so you think you should get advance notice before being interviewed about a murder case?
I don't,
Overruled.
I'm a professional with a small business. My time belongs to my clients and my family. I would like to know, I guess I book appointments.
I don't know what kind of businessman you are, sir, but I think even a Class A idiot would know that the police or the detective aren't going to call ahead to make an appointment to come talk to you about what you may or may not know regarding a murder. I'm just saying. I mean, you're definitely nothing special. You can't even wipe the smudge off your glasses. You're judgmental, think you're higher than everybody else. He came in trying to throw shade on the officers before he ever testified. And now we see that this is what he's saying about them. Wow. He's so obvious that he hates those detectives. I know. But that's what I mean, that's my thought process here. I don't know. It's pretty bad in my opinion. I mean, to me it is so obvious that he's so full of BS. So let's listen to some more BS.
Okay. Now let's get back on track. The detectives show up, they interview, and according to your statement there, you tell them he's refusing to watch the kids, correct? That's what you told the detectives.
Yes.
Now you're also saying he wanted to kidnap the kids.
My testimony is that he was kidnapping the kids. Like I said, I was not in a good state of mind when those detectives showed up. I was everywhere and nowhere. Unprofessionalism was quite shocking to me.
Okay, so is there a reason you told them that Bree was telling you he's refusing to watch the children?
I have no idea because on the phone call, she said that he was kidnapping them very specifically.
Okay, so why did you tell the detectives that he was refusing to watch them?
I just said a few times, I was completely shell shocked. I don't know if you've ever been bombarded with surprise, but I don't know where my head was at when these detectives came.
Okay, and the issue was about you coming down to watch the kids. Is that right?
She wanted me to watch the kids, be there when she had the surgery so that he could not take them.
And did she use the word kidnap, or is that your word?
When I gave my deposition, I said
I'm not
kidnap.
asking about the deposition. I'm asking kidnap.
I
Is that
know,
your-
I'm trying to give you
You finish my-
context. I don't know. At that time, I said kidnap, but I don't believe a
All right, can't help it. Do you think that he contacted Jim McCabe and asked her if she could give him some pointers in how to testify? Because I'm telling you, his attitude and everything is the same, in my opinion, as Miss Hoity Toity Jen McCabe. Am I right?
parent can technically kidnap their own kids.
That
At
wasn't my
that point, when
question,
I was
sir.
interviewed, I said the wrong word, I believe.
If you listen to my question, question was kidnap her word or your word?
Mine, she said take.
She said take. Okay, you saying kidnap. Okay. You understand a parent can't kidnap their own children, correct?
I just said that. Yes.
So why did you use the word kidnap before?
I don't know. I just said that. After reflection, I think that was the wrong word.
Yet he's
Now,
an
you think this
English
call is about 45
major.
minutes long, is that right?
The final call, sir?
Yes, sir. Okay. And you told Mr. Barnes that, I don't want to clarify, did you hear Colin on the phone with the police?
In the background, I heard him speaking, and Bree said he's on the phone with the cops.
Okay, and when was that during this 45-minute phone call?
Maybe 30, 35 minutes into it.
30 to 35 minutes into it, which means 10 minutes before he died. He was not on the phone with 911 that long. So, my friend, shall we continue? I know that's how I feel. He is such a sport. Does he not remind you of her? The more I think about it, she had to have gotten in touch with him. Mm-mm-mm. Oh, he infuriates me.
And can you hear anything Colin is saying?
No, sir.
Okay, you just hear what Bree's telling you?
I heard his voice, but like on a speakerphone, you can hear a voice without it being clear what the words are. So I heard his voice, but I did not hear what he was saying.
Now, I believe you used several words, scuffle, altercation, ruckus. What exactly did you hear in terms of a physical altercation? Can you describe it?
I can do my best. I mean, I heard things banging. I heard my nieces and nephews crying and yelling. I heard my sister saying she was being hit. I heard Colin yelling, and I heard, like, I wouldn't know how to describe it. Things hitting the ground or things being hit, like bumped or something, like slams.
So things are being hit, and she's telling you Colin is hitting her. Is that correct?
At one point, yes, sir.
You don't know what's going on. Obviously, you can't see what's going on, can you?
No, sir. I was on speakerphone.
Okay. And this, did Bree ever mention a gun to you?
I believe right at the end, she said she was getting a gun to protect the kids, and I said, just leave. And I said he wouldn't hurt them. She said he would kill them, and that is when the call ended, when she shot him.
Now, during that interview with the police, did you ever tell the police that you knew about Bree getting a gun?
Yes.
You did?
Yes, I saw this before, and this isn't my whole interview. The police were there far longer than they record it.
Okay. So are you saying the police interviewed you before they started recording you?
They were having a conversation with me. I don't know if you would consider it an interview, but yes.
And asking you questions about what happened?
Mhm.
Is that a yes?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then they turned the camera on and did.
Can you believe that? Can you believe that? Like I said, he was going to have an excuse for it. So during interview process, if anything is missing, it's because the detectives were not recording. We'll get to the Zoom meeting soon. I mean, but does he not stick out like a sore thumb? I mean, literally.
Did a recorded interview, correct?
Yes, they were at my shop, I would say at least half an hour before they started recording.
Okay. And after they started recording, they told you, tell us about all the phone calls, didn't they?
I would say so, yes.
And you had Mr. Barnes on the phone as well, didn't you?
Oh, yes.
Okay. And he told you to tell them everything that occurred.
And see, the other thing here, we got him on another one. Do you remember when he started complaining about how unprofessional the detectives were? And that when they showed up, he didn't even know his sister's attorney or if she had an attorney or if this was appropriate or whatever. Remember that? That dumbass just had to agree to the fact Mr. Barnes was on the phone with him when he was being interviewed by the detectives while they were wearing their well, I don't think that they had on body cam. Well, they may have used body cam, but whatever. Can you believe that? Right, he is rather arrogant, but for what? He's nothing special. I mean, what is, oh my gosh. But I mean, you can tell right off, can't you, that he's full of garbage? Or would anybody think he was being honest? I mean, his stories are so far-fetched.
Yes.
Okay. And after that, did you tell the police about Bree getting a gun?
I couldn't tell you, sir. I mean, like I said, since I'd already talked to them, I didn't know I told them once. I don't know if I told them a second time, but they did know.
He gets nervous
claiming
in
they knew that?
papers.
Oh, yes, sir.
And
That's
they're
not
telling you,
me.
tell us everything, and Mr. Barnes is telling you, walk us through the whole thing. That would be one of the things you would want to mention, right? About your sister getting a gun.
I guess, I mean, it was all redundant, but I guess I would believe so, yes.
Oh, I'm getting cramps in my feet.
Now, you remember giving a deposition back on June 17th, don't you?
Yes, sir.
This year.
Yes, sir.
You appeared via Zoom.
That's what this is, I believe. Yes.
During that deposition,
Objection, improper. Again, I can approach.
I don't,
let's approach.
okay. I haven't met a question yet, but
Nobody even knew where it was going with that question. I mean, you'd have had to be reading his mind. I don't know. The defense, look at that what guy in the end. The other thing, look at Sarah Boone's attorneys who she was able to get because of a want ad in desperation. Old men. I mean, they they look older than me. Same with Sarah Boone. So these old men have no problem defending a husband killer. It's so funny that I ever thought I wanted to be an attorney. When I was a kid, I wanted to be an attorney. I didn't want innocent people to go to prison. I didn't want an innocent person ever prosecuted. I could prosecute people now. I didn't want to do it when I was younger. I could be an attorney now.
Mr. Kuhn, during the deposition you gave on June 17th, did you state at that time that you knew Bree had a gun?
I don't remember, sir. That was 3 years ago.
The deposition I'm speaking about on June 17th of this year.
Oh, this year.
Dumbass.
I'm not sure because I know I said it, but I also know that it was done via Zoom and it kept being broken up.
Yeah, I told you,
Okay, so
told
you
you.
think you said it during one of the glitches?
Yes. I said it. I don't know whether or not it's in here.
Okay. So if you said it's on one of the glitches, it wasn't recorded. Is that what
If
you're
it
saying?
wasn't recorded, I can't help that, but I did say it.
Okay.
And I would have come down. I don't know why it had to be done Zoom, but
Okay. So if you just answer my questions. Okay.
yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Now, this physical altercation that you hear, how long is that before the gunshots?
The physical part, I mean, the altercation was an argument that turned physical, and I would say it was physical for maybe 5 or 6 minutes. Maybe.
They were having a physical fight for 5 or 6 minutes?
Maybe. That's, like I said, there was yelling, kids screaming. I heard this hit. I heard yelling, then a slam. I wasn't there. This is just what I heard.
Okay.
Mhm.
And so all this for 5 minutes, you're hearing hitting. Is that what you're describing?
I'm hearing everything. I'm hearing kids screaming. I'm hearing things being hit. I don't know if, phone hit a wall, a vase. I have no clue what it was. Yelling, kids yelling, Colin yelling, Bree crying and yelling. And I don't know how to describe sounds, sir, but something of disarray was happening in there.
Disarray. Something of disarray was happening. He thinks he's describing a
What
fight,
did
and
Bree
then
tell you he was doing during this time? She's
It-
giving you commentary
it
on
was
what Colin's doing.
okay.
Is that right?
At different points, she told me that he was hitting her. Then she was yelling at him, telling him that he was hurting the kids. She told me he was trying to load them in the car, but he said he was hurting her. Like, I believe he had my niece's arm. She said that he was trying to drag her, and she was telling him to leave her alone.
Okay. Now, when you were interviewed by the police, did you tell them any of this?
Yes.
You did? Okay. You want me to approach them?
You may.
Mr. Kuhn, do you remember
Yeah, it is.
that Colin was dragging his daughter?
Look at his eyes.
No, she said that he had her by the arm and said to let her go.
Okay, so when did you tell the police that during your interview with them? Do you remember?
I couldn't tell you. Like I said, this isn't the whole conversation I had with them. They were there much longer than this. I couldn't tell you what time it was.
Okay. So after they ask you to tell them everything that happened, Mr. Barnes tells you to walk through the whole thing. Did you describe to the police what you're now describing to this jury?
No.
I guess it's a shame I'm not one for redundancy. I know they knew it because I did tell them whether or not it was when they filmed or not. If it's not in here, it wasn't when I was filmed.
Oh, he's always lying.
Well, when Mr.
big
Barnes
time
tell
when
you
his
walking
hands are
through the entire
touching that
thing, what do you think that means?
I think it was 3 days after the worst episode I've ever had in my entire life, and I still don't know how it has affected me.
Jen
Okay,
McCabe
well, that
again.
wasn't my question. My question was, what do you think that means when somebody tells you, walk us through the entire thing? What does that mean to you?
It says, tell them everything I remember at that given point in the state of mind that I'm in.
Oh my goodness, the shock and horror. The horror. Look at me. Look at me. I'm a victim. I'm a victim. Give me a break. Good night, Margaret.
Okay. You didn't make any mention about Bree telling you about him having the child by the arm, did you?
Apparently not while I was being filmed, but I do know I said it.
Okay. So you said everything before they were filming.
Not everything. I'm telling you, I had a long conversation with them. They walked through my building. They looked at my store. They were asking me about brands I sold. None of that's in here either.
Such a smart ass dude. I mean, that kind of look. I don't spank my children, didn't spank my children, but that's the kind of look I'd like to just smack off somebody's face. Yeah, it was you know what? Colin, he never saw it coming. He had no clue. Yeah, she's horrible to have done this.
Now, I think you previously said that Colin had made some statement about killing the kids. Is that right? Did you hear him make some kind of statement like that?
At least he didn't
Colin
lie
saying
right
he would,
here.
no.
What there was something about killing kids. What did you hear? Tell us what you heard.
She thought he would kill the kid. She was afraid of that. Bree.
And did she tell you that?
Yes.
Let me ask you again. Did you ever tell the police that when you were interviewed? That Bree was telling you that Colin was going to kill her children. Did you tell the police that?
I said that I know she was in fear for her kid's life. Yes.
So do you want to? Do you remember what point you said that?
No, sir. Like this was 3 years ago. It was quite
No,
some time.
that
And like I
was
said,
that was the
they were there
deposition
for-
Let
over
me
the
ask you:
summer.
is it difficult to remember the interview you gave 3 years ago?
Oh, okay.
not
Sorry,
the
y'all.
interview, the specifics of questions asked and answered on and off camera.
Oh my
The
gosh.
specifics can be difficult 3 years later, can't they?
I just don't know when they turned the camera on.
Okay, so you think you may have told them
Oh
before
my
about
gosh.
telling them that
We
Bree
had
was
a
going to
long
kill the kids?
conversation. I'm not sure the exact time, sir.
You're
But
such
again, you didn't say it after
full
Mr.
of
Barnes told you to
shit.
walk us through the whole thing. You didn't tell them that, did you?
If it's not in here, no, sir.
Right.
Did you hear any specific words at any point from Colin during this phone call?
No.
Excuse me. That was a beeping sound. Wrong answer. So I'm gonna post the 911 call and day 1 of the trial probably tomorrow. I know I'm doing this in bass backwards, but this little dude right here, I just couldn't anymore. I just couldn't. I kept trying to figure out, and finally, I'm just like, no, I'm gonna do this on a live just because. Um, I kept messing up in certain spots. I mean, I tried to pre-do one, couldn't get it. But the thing with this is, he is. God, his lies are just. They're blowing me away, literally. I mean, that's all he's doing. His sister, if she would have decided to testify, it would have been really hard. I hope she's taking notes. If she was planning on testifying, she ought to have, her hand ought to be cramping. She ought to be writing 1,000 miles an hour, because this dude is just making it up as he goes. Oh my gosh, Colin, you have no conscience. That's just my opinion.
But Bree's telling you things that he's doing and saying. Is that right?
Yes, she's telling me I'm on speakerphone. I can hear his voice at different parts, but it's not clear. I can't hear anything he's saying.
What about around the time of the gunshots? Did you ever hear him say anything?
No, I don't believe so, sir.
How many gunshots did you hear?
I heard 3, sir.
And you didn't hear Colin say anything around that time, did you? Around the time of the gunshots?
No, sir.
You didn't hear his voice around the time of the gunshots?
No, sir.
Colin was on the phone with 911 when he was shot. He was shot 4 times. I believe the separation was between number 1 and number 2. I think there was a pause. So he was shot once, and the 911 operator asked him, "What was that?" And then she, I believe, said his name and asked if he was okay. What was that? Colin was able to say, "She just shot me." The 911 operator will know who he's talking about by saying, "She just shot me," because he was on the phone talking about the fact that his wife had locked him in the garage, which, of course, the defense had a smart ass something over you can't be locked in a garage, or I don't know. But really, really,
So it sounds like you hear a physical altercation, and she's telling you that Colin's hitting her, right? And kicking her. And then a short time later, then you hear gunshots, right?
Yes, sir.
And it's immediately after the physical altercation. Is that right?
What's neat? I mean, it was within, I would say, 1 to 2 minutes. Yes, sir.
Now you remember giving a deposition on the June 17th? No, that's not what you're looking at, sir.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
asking you the deposition you gave on June 17th. Do you remember that?
Yes, sir.
I swear, it's like watching Jim McCabe. I swear it is. Mm-mm-mm-mm. It's horrible.
On page 23. Approach the witness.
You may.
Sarah, why don't you read this to yourself, lines 13 through 17.
Yes, sir.
Just read them to yourself.
Literally, this is a very painful witness. I mean, he's
Yes, sir.
Okay. Does that help refresh your memory about how soon after the physical altercation you heard the gunshots?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You said it was right after the gunshots, right?
Right after. Yes, not immediately.
Okay. What do you define as right after?
Well, you said immediately. I think immediately is within seconds. Right after could be within a couple of minutes, sir. I'm sorry. I'm an English major, right? It's just specifics. I'm sorry.
So your definition of right
oh my gosh, he's an English major that couldn't decide between kidnapped and take. I'm an English major. I am not kidding y'all. This little dude is almost as horrific as Jim McCabe. And the reason that I say that is because he's lying to get a murderer off, and Jim McCabe is lying to put an innocent woman in prison. Both of you are just, oh, disgusting. Yeah, it just, if you try to be a nice human, it's so much easier than this shit. Oh, just be a nice human.
after is a couple of minutes?
1 to 2.
Okay. But that's not what you described previously, correct? It's physical altercation, gunshots.
Well, and he's not taking my kids for making a statement. So that's
Right. And this is all part of one sequence, right?
Yes, sir.
There's no break in between, is there?
No, sir.
He forgot to say taking and killing because he said that last time.
Mr. Kuhn, if you're hearing hitting noises on the phone, would you agree that somebody hitting another person sounds exactly the same as somebody hitting themselves?
Oh, probably.
So on the phone, it can be very hard to tell what's going on, can it?
Sure.
And if you hear hitting noises and somebody's claiming, ow, that hurts, you can't see what's going on, can you?
No, sir.
I'd be embarrassed if I was his father.
Did your sister during this phone call, did she ever talk about being suicidal?
No, sir, not during that phone call.
So she made no talk of committing suicide or anything like that, did she? At any point?
No, sir.
She's going to kill her husband. I think we're almost finished with him.
And what does your sister call you? Do you have a nickname or anything?
Oh, Bubba.
Now, this is
And
funny.
your phone number 5709.
Y'all approach.
I mean, it's like, dude, were you fixing to dox him? But shoot. Let me see if it's just. He slams it. I thought it was slam.
I'm going to show you. I'm a call log. I don't want you to announce the number, but I just want you to verify if you recognize this phone number for me.
Okay, sir.
Under the contact buffer, I don't know if you can see that where you are.
Can I stand up?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
On a small right.
Yeah,
That phone number.
that's my number, sir.
That's your number. Thanks, sir. Those are my questions.
All right, redirect.
Sir, in your deposition, just a few lines up from this right after business, you said, she had said, he just threw me to the floor. He's not taking my kids, and gunshots.
Yes,
So
sir.
the connector word there was and, right?
Yes, sir.
And then the few lines down, as we just learned, the connector is, and then right after that, you heard gunshots. Was the question from the prosecutor. So the right after that's not your words. I mean, I can show you if you
I
don't
see it,
know.
sir.
Okay. So that's the question from not this prosecutor, but a different prosecutor, and you say yes, right?
Yes.
Okay. To the extent all that matters. You're listening. I mean, you're not watching this.
Oh my gosh.
You're listening and you're perceiving.
Yes, sir.
Right. And the next thing you perceived were the gunshots.
Yes, sir.
And the difference between the kidnapping and taking, and you were called down here for the kids, correct?
Yes,
It
sir.
had to do with the kids.
That's all she ever cared about.
Right. And you're called down, even though their father is here, the father's not working, but you're called to take care of the kids, right?
Their father is on 100% disability from the United States Marine Corps. Look it up. He helps bring money in as well.
Yes, she was afraid he was going to take them.
And then the day you're called down here, you go through your sister's calls and however long the final one was, and you hear these gunshots. Your sister gets arrested. It's a few days later. These people show up unannounced.
You know, I'm object for leading.
Fair enough.
I'll sustain.
I was wondering-
Let's hear the question.
A, were you in like the best state of mind at that
Oh
time?
my gosh.
No, sir. Not at all.
And
Wash
When
your
the
glasses.
investigators were there, Did they ask you specific question followed by question followed by question? Or was it a, just walk us, for me, just walk us through it?
I believe, you mean when they filmed it?
No, sir. When the investigators are there in Pennsylvania,
Mhm.
Was it more of just, hey, just kind of a narrative deal and they're in, they're out, versus a deposition, or even today, which is question and question and break down your answer and question and question? It was just kind of a walk us through it, right?
Both times, before they filmed and after they started filming.
We're talking about when the police were there, correct? Now, you're not on Zoom, of course.
No. When the detective
All
showed
right,
up, they
just make
came
sure
to
we're
my
talking about the
store.
same thing.
Oh, yeah.
Now,
Zoom just glitched.
the idea about, were you asked anything specifically about your
Oops, I'm
knowledge of the
sorry.
gun by these detectives? Did they get into the gun? Do you remember?
Okay, the thing about the gun and what the issue is with the gun, I think it's because he has different statements. But of course, we know now that he has different statements, not because he made different statements, but because either the the detectives were not recording during that portion of the interview, or the Zoom was glitching during his answers in that portion of the interview. I swear he sounds like Jim McCabe. Let me just turn it, twist it, and make it fit the way I want it to be.
I don't remember, sir, no.
Did you assume that these detectives knew that a gun was involved?
Yes, sir.
You didn't think that your sister like shot him with a water pistol or?
Yeah, I'm going to object for leading again.
That's not even funny.
Sustained.
Did you think the gun was all that important? I know that sounds strange in this kind of a case, but did you assume that the police knew about the gun?
I don't know how they couldn't have.
Now, earlier, just to clear up, you talked about that it was, you were asked, how long was it physical? And you said 5 minutes. Remember that?
Yes, sir.
Is it your testimony that you perceived that it was physical for 5 minutes, or it was physical intermittent in the yelling and the sounds you're hearing, that you're perceiving physical going on? You understand my question?
No, he
Yes,
doesn't.
and I don't know if it was my phrasing. Physical could be someone throwing something or something falling or breaking. So it wasn't just 5 minutes of unadulterated one human being being hit. It was 5 minutes of items like bangs and pops and things like that, sir.
Yes. Thank you, sir.
Is he done?
Can this witness step down and be excused?
Oh, yeah.
But yes, sir, you can.
Okay.
Ah,
Sir, you may step down. You're now excused.
Thank you, sir. Do they stay here?
Mr. Alderman, do you need to get the,
Yes, I'll go.
okay.
so, what do you think about that? All right, real quick, I am going to find the 911 call, and we're going to listen to that because I believe it may well, I don't think so. Let me see. Um, huh. All right, let's see. Oh, geez, they're all with commentary. Huh. Closing. Well, I'm not gonna stay on here forever because I do have it that I'm fixing to release. So I will just let it go when I release it. I'm pretty sure that I have it on the next one because I have the trial that I've been recording and giving my commentary and cutting out long waits. Like one day there was almost 2 hours that the poor jurors, they were back in the deliberation, I mean, back in the jury room for 2 hours. The judge sent them back for a 20-minute break, and 2 hours later, they brought them out and sent them home for the day. It's, oh my gosh. So, but I'll get that other one up there. But I was just curious, and I know that there's probably not going to be many people that stick in this. It's 2 hours, and I've rambled doing it. So, but I enjoyed doing it because this is just, it's really sad. It's really sad it's allowed. People should think of the children left behind. But anyway, I'm going to say good night, and I may go live tomorrow night. We'll see. Bye.